And welcome to another edition of Working for Charities. I'm Trip Mitchell, joined by the team, John the Bear Absey.
Hello.
You can hear him speak for the first time. He was the Bear for 25 years.
We tried all those years to get. I used to bug him. We'd have a camera, and I'd say, "Hey Bear, how are you? Good to see you." And he just was dead silence. It was,
Didn't you duct taped your mouth or something like that?
Oh man, there was a number of times, that I almost slipped that up.
Did you? So you never could talk for 25 years.
I did, like when I was on the court, I'd go talk to the referees, but you couldn't tell. There was a lot of times if you saw me, if you saw me, I'd go over and I'd stand in front of the referee like this, like I was being,
bad call, ref.
Yeah. It was just me going, "Hey, how you doing? You guys going out after the game?"
Did you ever get them to laugh? Could you come up with a joke that get the referees to laugh? What are some of the things?
No, I mean.
Can you say it?
Most of it. No, not really.
A couple of antics you did where a couple of refs were just roaring with laughter, and I can't remember what it was.
A lot of it was like something would happen, and I know one of them was I went out there and I just got my butt handed to me doing this sumo wrestling thing on the court, and his name was Tennessee, and he lit me up. He was a big football player, and I went over and I remember talking to the ref afterwards because he called me over. He's like, "Hey Bear, come here." And I walked over and he's like, "Man, you got your blank kicked out there." And I was like, "I know." I go, "But did you see the size of that guy?" But he was laughing. We were just bantering back and forth.
Isn't that fun? And by the way, we'll get the rest of the cast. Randall Carlisle.
Hello.
Never accused for not saying anything. Longtime news anchor. You were an anchor for how many years?
100.
100, but it seemed like 40.
Yeah, right.
But you only look 30.
Yeah, well,
that's crazy.
It's
amazing.
Because it's such an easy job, just sitting there and reading news stories.
It is very easy.
So give us a story. Give us a funny story that happened with you.
A funny story. We had just quickly. We had it wasn't in Salt Lake. It was in another market, but they had it whenever we'd go to commercial. They had a bump shot of a camera up in the studio that would take a wide shot, and we had a bunch of screw ups in the first segment, and I was younger and didn't hold my anger back very well. And so as soon as I said, "We'll be right back and try to fix these problems," just sort of like that. And the second I knew that the camera that was on me was off, I stood up and picked up my script and I just threw it out in the studio and didn't realize that the bump shot up there was seeing that.
You threw your script?
Yeah.
I love it. That's
There's
awesome.
cameras everywhere.
Yes, I know. Those were in my younger, more stupid days.
Did they? Can we find that on YouTube? That
Probably
would be
not. The one that's on YouTube is when Terry Wood and I were on Channel 2. We had an 11:30 show, I think, at p.m., and we teased the show at the end of the 10 o'clock news, and the lady's name was Sloan Brown, who did the show, and she had a camera out in the newsroom, and she had broken her leg and was on crutches, and I'm facing Terry, and the shot is back there, so I couldn't see anything, and Terry can see her, and all of a sudden he just starts laughing while I'm saying, "Sloan Brown's here now with a look at what's coming up at 11:30," and he's just roaring, and I'm looking around. I couldn't figure out what was so funny, and I looked, and she had fallen down behind the desk, and it was and so my very perceptive call on that is I said, "Sloan Brown just fell down." I couldn't think of anything else to say.
Little did you know that you could do play-by-play.
And it was, and it made all the TV blooper shows. I used to get royalty checks for $2 or something because they were showing it all over the world.
Well, so I'll have to look that up.
That is on YouTube. So
and in my case, we had at the University of Nevada, we were doing a high school championship game, and the kid who scored the winning touchdown in overtime. Thank you very much. Gosh.
I'm handy.
You were a good guy.
Union grievance.
I'm doing an interview with him, and the batteries didn't work on the wireless mic. And so my guy down in the field said, "Cut, we're going back up to the booth." And I mentioned to him, using a 4-letter word, which you couldn't hear, he's an idiot for not replacing the batteries at halftime. Unfortunately, the camera didn't go back up to the booth. It stayed on me.
Oh. And so you saw the words.
Yeah, so people read my lips saying a really bad word 3 or 4 different times. And maybe
Shucks and darn. I didn't think that was that bad.
And we flew back for the NASCAR banquet that night in Vegas, and everyone at the banquet said, "I heard you say a bad word on TV." And I go, "You didn't. You read lips, but evidently some of those words are bad."
Yeah, but
so,
you see coaches on the sideline doing that all the time. It's like, you know. And
Well, here's the one that amazes me, and we're going to get to you in a second.
Oh no, I'm just glad to be here, guys. I'm just glad to be here.
So we
there
have an
was a
Osmond
point
in the
of this,
house. Yeah.
wasn't it? Yes.
But what amazes me is that if a team wins a championship and you're going with live audio on NBC, CBS, whatever, you're going to hear bad words.
Sure.
And why they don't put a delay in, 10, 15-second delay. Did Channel 4 have a delay, or you guys are pros?
No. We just took our chances, and where we got burned was at protest rallies where. Because some of the signs had bad words on them, and even that you're liable for to the FCC. So towards the end of my career, they made when we were doing live shots at protests, we had to stand not with the protesters at our back, but so you looked away from the protesters, so you wouldn't see the signs.
Probably much safer. But anyway,
Well,
John.
no, wait. It's if we're all going to talk about it, and you know this man's performed a lot and stuff in his family. What do you got?
I never protested anything.
No.
But what's
what do you
your embarrassing?
What's your embarrassing
Did
funny
any bad
moment?
words ever come out?
Any bad? No, my mom would kill me if I said any bad
Okay,
words.
see?
So no bad words.
So
but,
the only clean guy here
I will
is
tell you.
sitting here.
Well, the most embarrassing thing in our career was we were in London and we were signed with Epic Sony Records, me and my brothers, and we were having breakfast after we did a big show on the BBC, and we had breakfast with two of the top people at Sony Records and the president of our fan club and all these very important people talking about our next deals, what we're going to be doing. And I leaned back in my chair, and the chair broke, and my knees hit the table with all the food on it and threw the food all over the executives of Sony Records. And needless to say, we didn't get signed again after that. But it was a good time. It was a good time. But
And you were sober.
oh, I was absolutely sober. yes, I was.
Because
Yes, I was.
that's probably happened with other artists, but maybe after 10 o'clock
Yeah,
at night.
no, the chair broke. And so,
Sure did.
you know, and then of course my brothers started talking about my weight and, you know, just they thought it was hilarious. And of course our manager, and they didn't think that was that funny, but
Hey, you know,
I thought it was hilarious.
I think
It was-
they
it
just
was
need to learn
great.
to lighten up.
It was really embarrassing, but, you know, what do you do?
so why don't we go ahead and introduce our guest? Since we've been talking for the last 9 minutes.
Yes.
I know.
So
We got
up,
30
Brad.
seconds left, guys. So
Hey,
it's
thanks
good-
for
hey,
being
it's
here.
great to be here, man.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
well, you know, you look great.
Thanks. Well, you told me to dress up.
I know.
So
no,
I
I was
did the
going to say
opposite of what
weight-wise.
you
I mean, I don't
normally
know how heavy you were back then, but you sure
I
look
weighed
good
the
now.
same right then when I was 14 as I do now.
14?
I'm kidding. I don't know.
I was like, wow, that's impressive.
no,
You
no,
can
no.
be a lineman on
You
that
know,
team.
I was like 6'1" and 6'1" when I was like 14, 15. So I was a big kid.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, go ahead.
So, this,
I was a big
this
kid.
is what's so fun is I love this show when you can bring, like, you know, one of your brothers, your friends, your mentors. I mean, all this stuff. I've known Doug for 100 years.
Long
It's been a
time,
long time.
yeah.
You and your family.
Yeah, we're only 40.
I
So
know.
it's weird.
It's
How-
weird.
How does that work?
But I'll tell you what is he has been part of so many charities, and the man has such a big heart. And I'm just really glad that you came on and want to talk about your new venture
Yeah.
with your new charity.
Yeah.
But wait, his name is Doug Osmond, and his charity
Osmond, I've heard that name before.
Osmond.
is just a little bit.
Osmond.
Just I mean, they're just a
Reco-
little known in
recovering
Utah.
boy band member is what I
Yeah.
am. So.
And but he worked with a number of charities, and right now he has been working with Fight the New Drug.
Yep.
And we're gonna let him explain all about that.
Yeah. So and I want to get a kind of history on why. So I started obviously in a boy band growing up. When you're an Osmond, you have to sing. You have to perform. It's a requirement. So then you grow up and you have to get real jobs. So I did a lot of different things. I went in the corporate world for a long time. I was good with sales and things like that. I helped a lot of different companies grow exponentially. Helped one company in 3 years go from startup to 400 million a year in sales, and went and helped a few companies like that. But I kind of like the charity aspect. My dad is Alan Osmond of the Osmond Brothers, and he's responsible for helping to create the Children's Miracle Network, which has raised over $7 billion for children.
Wow.
He also is the creator and founder of Stadium of Fire. He produced that show in Provo. It's 34 years now, I think it's been going on that one.
Has it been that long?
It's been that long, yeah.
I
34,
remember
maybe
reporting
35.
on the first time.
Yeah,
My God, I'm old.
So it's been. I was there too. So I was there too. So I watched my dad do all these different things, and he wrote all their songs and produced the Don Emery shows, and I liked
He
all that
was
stuff.
he was kind of the king of the.
Well, he was the oldest of the group, right? So
Yeah.
it was his job to make sure everyone else stayed in line, which was not a fun job, because let's be honest, some of my uncles, so just love you all. But so I started getting to the charity side of things. And at one point in my career, I was starting my own charity to help with people who were having addiction issues with pornography back in the day. This is back in 2013-ish, 2014-ish. And at that time, when I was working on this, I ran into and met a guy named Tim Ballard. Okay, and Tim is a guy who started Operation Underground Railroad. He was with Homeland Security at the time. And it was funny, I ran into him at a Glenn Beck event when Glenn was here doing Man on the Moon, the Man on the Moon event. And Glenn has been a friend of mine for over a decade. And so I thought Tim was his bodyguard, and he thought I was Glenn's bodyguard.
Okay.
So we're in the room for like 3 days together with Glenn, and we never said a word to each other because
the bodyguards, you're supposed to
you
be
just,
macho.
you just let the guests do their thing, whatever. So as we're leaving, I'm walking out with my brother David and Tim, and we're walking away, and I looked at Tim, I'm like, dude, why aren't you with Glenn? He goes, why aren't you with Glenn? I'm like, who are you? So we started talking, and he was sharing how he wanted to start this charity to help fight child sex trafficking. And I was like, that's a thing? I had no idea. We had no idea it was such a big deal. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I'm with Homeland Security, but blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I'm trying to start this thing to help people with pornography. He goes, dude, they're intertwined. They feed off each other. And I'm like, let's talk. So we started talking, and I told him, if I can help you at all, I will. So the beginning of the next year is when they launched Operation Underground Railroad. And so they called me and said, we need you to do a fundraiser for us so we can do this. I'm like, cool, when do you want it? He goes, in 2 weeks. And I'm like, really, Tim? Come on. But I threw together a fundraiser in 2 weeks. We held it up in Midway, Utah at the Zermatt, raised over $40,000 in one night.
Wow.
And we went off to the races at that point. So I became their second employee, which was kind of cool. And for 3 years, helped raise money and helped them build that whole deal. And then after 3 years of that, we were, there were some things that happened with opening up new countries and me being the money guy and an Osmond and all these things. I had someone that worked with the FBI actually tell me that I was a target with some of these cartels that we were trying to take down. So that kind of messed with me a little bit. And then they even went a step further, and the guy told me that if they don't go after me and my family, they'll go after Donnie and Marie and their kids and grandkids to prove a point. It's dangerous work. What Tim and those guys do, I salute them. They're amazing.
Yeah, and you probably know Greg Rogers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, these guys, they're amazing, right? They're incredible. So
it's pretty scary stuff to hear, though.
Right? So about that same time, I was approached by another nonprofit organization called the Unique Foundation, and they help women that were sexually abused as children. Same vein, a little safer. I told Tim, hey, I love you, brother. I gotta go. So I went over there and helped them for a couple of years, and they helped. We helped over 2,000 women while I was there go through their program.
Wow.
Just an amazing cause, right? But again, all in the same vein. Then some things presented itself, and an opportunity arose, and I'd put all these pieces together that everything led back to pornography. We can trace human trafficking back to it. You can trace sexual abuse to it. You can trace violent crimes to it. And it's all scientifically proven facts and all these things. So I was given an opportunity to go work for Fight the New Drug, which helps people basically understand the harmful effects of pornography. We are non-religious, non-legislative. We're all about facts, science, and personal stories. So it's a great approach to it because, when people, they trust science, right? And when they see the science behind it, they used to.
Some politicians don't.
Well,
yes.
I don't talk politics. So anyway, but we're just all about the facts and personal stories. And so it's been an amazing journey to kind of put it all together. And I come at it from a very unique perspective, having worked with the other organizations. And, I struggled myself with it for a long time as a kid with pornography. I've been traveling all over the world. I got exposed as a little kid and blah, blah. It was a long, horrific story, but came through that successful. And now I'm like this huge advocate to help people understand the harmful effects of viewing pornography. And pornography today is not the pornography back when I was a kid. They did a study last year. They took the top 50 most viewed and most popular downloaded porn videos online. 88% of those videos were violent. So it's a different era we're living in, and so
When I was growing up, we went to the drugstore and pulled out a
Ex-
Playboy and looked
exactly.
at the centerfold and then ran. You know,
Exactly.
That was
Exactly.
that's
a little
that's
different
It's a
now,
little
huh?
different now, and kids are accessing it
And
very very
online,
young.
how do you? You're a parent, I assume.
Yes.
How do you keep your kids off bad websites?
You don't give them technology. So, my son, when he turned 16, I gave him a dumb phone, and then he earned it and proved that he was whatever, and we gave him a smartphone.
He didn't
but-
have a phone until he was 16.
exactly. Didn't have a phone till he was 16.
Yeah, I don't want you
I
as
gave
my
my
dad.
I gave
Yeah.
my
Jeez.
daughter a phone at 14 because she's my daughter, and I wanted to know where she was at a lot more than my son was, because my son is a wrestler and he's a big dude and he can handle himself. But my daughter, whatever. But I have 5 kids. They're the only 2 that have any technology right now. So
Really?
I've got a 12-year-old, a
That's
9-year-old, and a 2-year-old as well. Besides my 15 and 18-year-old, and the 3 younger don't have any type of technology
I fought
because
that really hard with phones.
yeah, I fight it, but the thing is people ask me all the time, and I've been asked many times anyway, when is a good age? How old should a kid be before you give them a smartphone? And my response back is, well, how old do you want your kid to be when they start looking at pornography? That's the reality of it, and it's
So
not
it's a guarantee.
It's a guarantee. It's going to find them. Eventually, they're going to see something. They're going to be exposed to something. The average age of exposure right now is 11.
Whoa.
But there are kids that are being
To
exposed a
hardcore
lot
stuff.
younger to hardcore pornography. And so,
It's crazy.
and what it does in the brain, I mean, if you go to fightthenewdrug.org, we have blogs, we have thousands of blogs. We have all these different studies, and you could also go to truthaboutporn.org, look at those things as well. And there's a lot of science and studies that back up what we're doing. And we're not here to ban porn, and we're not here to shame people that look at porn. That's not what we do. What we do is we just want them to consider before consuming. We have a podcast as well called Consider Before Consuming, where we interview people and we talk about it. And we just want people to be educated on the harmful effects of viewing pornography. And when people are, they tend to make the choice to stop looking at it.
If I could just jump
Yeah.
in, tell them about. You gave me a statistic.
A what?
A statistic.
Statistic,
A
which is
statistic.
outdated now, by the way,
Is it really?
because
So you know what I'm talking about.
Well,
Throw
we
that
just
one out
we just on our website just announced there's a website that's very very popular. It's one of the most popular porn sites online that likes to brag about their stats every year, and so there's some new stats on there that are pretty alarming, and you'll have to go and check it out. But
Well,
yeah. In fact, if we give me a second, I might look it up.
We-
if you
While
can.
you're looking at it, though, tell them about over the whole course. Like, I don't remember what the stat was about. How many years you'd have to look at porn in order.
Well, that went up. That's why those
Oh, is that
stats
what
are
that's-
outdated.
okay,
Yeah.
so we are talking about the same thing.
Oh yeah, it's the same
Crazy.
thing.
I
It's
had
really
no
crazy.
idea. And
it's
so,
a huge industry.
so we were
know
mentioning
that.
Greg Rogers, an undercover FBI guy who did
Uh-huh.
some work with my wife
Mhm.
and put some really bad people in prison. And later in his career, he was over in Thailand trying to stop sex trafficking.
Yeah.
And it's a huge, huge issue. And, you're aware of it, but
You know, something else is technically like somebody that's addicted to porn could come on your show because according to Doug, it's
Yeah.
true addiction.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not just that you look at
Well,
porn.
and that's
it's-
my personal story, right? I mean, and the word addiction is used. I think it's overused.
Yep.
If a kid is exposed to pornography, it doesn't mean they're an addict.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that go into that. So we're very cautious when we use the word addiction. For me personally, yeah, I was a full-fledged addict for 22 years, right? So
I mean, by addict, you mean you consumed it every day?
yeah, absolutely. And I did a lot of things that I'm not proud of, but it opened my eyes though, and
Or
now
you're not talking about our show.
No, being friends with John was one of those mistakes. No, but I've been able to be free from pornography for years now. We're going on like almost 9 years. So it's been a true blessing. But here's some of the stats that we have now. So this is from a website called Pornhub. They're one of the top, highest porn sites in the world. So this year in 2019. They had 42 billion visits to their website. 42 billion. There was
Wait. Let's do the math.
yeah.
There are 300 million people in the United States.
Mhm.
400 billion. Now, obviously,
42 billion.
42 billion, but that's
Right.
around the world.
Right.
But
So
I
yeah,
know.
there was 1.36 million hours of new content uploaded to their site last year. This is what you're talking about. So if you started watching 2019's videos that were uploaded to this website in 1850, you would still be watching them today.
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you started watching in 1850, you'd still be watching. That's just the stuff that was uploaded this year.
24 hours a day.
So-
So
That
there
was the year
there
I
was
was born.
6,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Jeez.
Let's see, there was 6,597 petabytes of data transferred last year. I mean, I can't even comprehend that.
I've never even
That-
heard of the word
That's
peta.
more.
haven't
That's
either.
more bandwidth than the entire internet consumed in 2002. Okay, so
because I've heard the statistic that 70% of the internet is regarding sex.
well, I don't know what that stat is. I'm not sure, but I do know that there's about 400 million pornographic websites or web pages online right
Jeez.
now. And this is off one website.
It just
Okay.
blows me away.
So then, let's
As well as
see.
we're going to beep out
Yeah.
that name because we're not giving them credit.
No, we're not.
I don't think people watching our show would go.
But there's a lot of stuff. I mean, you can go to it. It's called on our website. The blog on fightthenewdrug.org is called Pornhub's Annual Report. Can you guess 2019's top searched porn terms? And we have those as well, which is pretty.
We're not gonna
we're not
mention
gonna we're not
any-
gonna mention them on
any of
here. But it really is eye opening, and it's very graphic, and it's one of those things where I thought. I just read an article. It wasn't from us, but I just read one this week because we're always trying to find what's going on. And it was an article by a woman that said she was a 37-year-old woman that spent a week as an 11-year-old on social media and what she learned. And
can't
okay,
even imagine.
I've been undercover with Operation Underground Railroad. I went and actually did a couple of operations with them where we acted as the buyer of children and we brought kids in and
The
so
Attorney
I've
General
seen-
went down.
Yeah, with Sean Reyes was
Yeah.
a great supporter, and I've been there and seen it. I
Did
went
you
on
go to
another one.
Thailand, or-
I went to Dominican Republic, and then I did one in California where we acted as the seller of an 11-year-old, of a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old. Yes, and okay, so I've seen a lot of stuff. I went to Africa on an aftercare mission and held children that were what do they call them? Human sacrifice victims that were rescued in the middle of their sacrifice, right? I mean, I've seen some dark things in my life, and I started to read this article this week about what this woman learned about being an 11-year-old on social media, and I got about a third of the way through the article, and I had to stop. I couldn't handle it anymore. And so I went home and I told my wife, I'm like, you know what? Our girls are never getting on social media ever.
Girls, you want a smartphone? Not
No,
going to happen.
You got the wrong. Yeah, you're.
Well, they can have, my daughter has a smartphone, but she has no social media platforms whatsoever. She's not allowed to have them. And she's like, Dad, all my friends have Instagram. I'm like, I know. I'm sorry. You can text me. I'll send you emojis. I mean, whatever you want to do. But it's one of these things where my kids have a lot of friends. They need parents, and they need people that are willing to protect them and do the hard things. And it's hard to say no to your children, especially in this day and age when it comes to technology. One of the biggest gifts my kids wanted this year is an Xbox, and I'm like, sorry, I'm not going to do that.
Even
Number
with
one, they
Xbox?
fight all the time, but number two, there's so many portals in the video games, and Fortnite is actually a big tool for traffickers to go and find kids and get them out. So they use these things all the time.
This has been the most depressing show we've done.
I ruined people. Thanksgiving was awesome.
This
So-
is literally
But yeah.
like so shocking.
Yeah.
The reality of it all is so shocking.
It is, and the problem is the porn industry gets like this pass. I mean, the
Is it
racism.
the First Amendment?
Well, yeah, they use the First Amendment, but I'm talking like the violence and the racism that is used in porn videos would absolutely not be tolerated in regular media. It just wouldn't. I mean, and you could go on, you can see what terms. I won't even repeat the terms that are used, but it's like they get a pass, and the searches that are searched for it are crazy. I mean, I just posted on my own Facebook page one of our articles the other day about a woman that was raped by 4 guys and murdered, and her name started to trend on these popular porn sites of people wanting to see it. So it's very dark, it's very graphic, but that's kind of where we're going. So, we try to focus on what real love is, what hope is. We've got to spell out what it is, but we hope people will understand when learn and are educated on what it actually is and what people are doing and how it just is very degrading to women. And you know, with the whole Me Too movement, you would think people would jump on a lot bigger because no one should be exploited. Everyone should be treated with love and with kindness. And so we're there to just educate and then share that, hey, when you choose not to consume pornography, there's so much joy, there's so much hope, there's so much love to go around. You know, we're all about fight for love, you know, and be a lover and a fighter, you know. And so I love what I get to do. It is heavy sometimes, but
Gosh,
but yeah, I mean, it's
someone's
it's
got
my
to deal.
passion, right?
Yeah,
It's what I love.
Someone's got to deal with this
Yeah.
garbage.
The cat's out of the bag. I mean, you're never going to get rid of porn. It's always going to be there now.
Right.
But why
So
can't you?
it's
I don't
but it-
understand. Why can't?
but it's like-
why isn't there a
Well, here's the thing.
legislature
That-
or a
again, that's-
legislative measure passed for that?
That's not our fight. But what
But
our
what have
fight
you heard?
is,
There's got to be people
there's
that have
people
brought
that
this up.
try to do stuff all the time, but there's it's such a powerful entity that they, you know, the industry of pornography is so powerful that the only way to really stop it is kind of like the tobacco industry, right? That whole fight there. I mean, back in the day, they were like issuing cigarettes to clean out your lungs. Doctors were, because
Yeah.
they just didn't know. Science and
well, they
truth hadn't-
actually did know.
Well, I'm not going to go there. Science and truth hadn't really caught up with each other yet.
Right.
But once it did, the campaigns that came out and said, hey, if you smoke, you could get cancer. Okay, well, everyone knows that now. I mean, it's not that smoking has been banned. If people want to choose to smoke, go ahead. You can smoke. If people, and it's the same thing with pornography. If you want to view pornography, that's your right and that's your choice. However, you just need to understand what could happen, you know, if you consume it.
So
and
you
what
s-
happens to your brain scientifically and all those different things, which we have all different types of studies on our website that you can look
So
to.
you saying that the porn industry has lobbyists?
Oh, yeah.
You're kidding me.
Well, but it's a First Amendment thing.
Yeah,
All jo-
it is.
It is.
It's a First Amendment right, and they have the right to do what they want to do.
In
But-
certain countries, for instance,
But
China.
but when it comes to the stuff that you're talking about, that where somebody's getting murdered, I mean,
Well-
there's got to be a.
Well, they just actually, too.
Put it this way: if they made cigarettes and they shoved heroin in them or meth in them, they're going to stop it.
Sure.
So
But this
Sure.
is online video you're watching.
And so a lot of people say it's acting.
I'm getting worked
or
up,
they're-
guys.
No, I know. And there's a whole other debate there that I don't even want to get into. But there was
swore.
a thing that happened this past year in 2018. I think it was 2018 or 17. Within the last year, 2 years, the porn industry has been fighting a certain law that would make them prove the age of their actors.
oh,
Right? So they didn't want to have to do that. And so they went to court again. And within the last year and a half or so, they won that case. So now they don't have to prove the age of the actors on their website.
So who's on the take on this? That's
I don't
just
know.
that's really what it comes
When you
down
have
to.
that
I don't
kind
know.
of viewing.
There's a whole blog on that
think
with
of the
us
money
too. We,
that
there's
is-
a blog you can read. You
But
get all the
it's
facts.
huge.
But doesn't
money.
it just make you mad though, Randall, and everybody here? I mean, I get so tired of us being sheep and we can't do anything because there's big money behind things.
Sure.
And then they're the ones
But
that
here's-
are.
But let me
Make
say,
it-
let me bring you some hope though. Here's the cool thing: it's all about the one. Okay, if you choose not to consume it, you just took money out of their pocket. Okay? And that's the thing. We want to educate the public on the harmful effects. And when people get worked up like this, it's pretty cool because there's I will never look at pornography again. We did a documentary called Brain Heart World, and you can actually view it for free at brainheartworld.org.
I saw it. It was amazing.
And that it's really cool. I actually had a couple of very, very close friends view it, and they didn't think there was anything wrong with pornography. And I'm like, cool, watch the video, no shame, whatever, but watch the documentary and then tell me what you think. And two of them actually texted me after they saw it, and they said, we had no idea. We will never look at pornography again. And the cool thing was I actually followed up with one of them like 9 months later, and he'd been clean from viewing porn ever since that day because he got educated on the harmful effects of pornography. And then he chose to not view it, which is really cool because the more people that do that, the less clicks the porn industry gets and the less money they make. And that's how we're going to make the difference.
Wow, it's amazing. This has been the fastest half hour we've ever had.
Is it?
Yeah, John, you are a hell of a
Is it
booker.
over already?
It is over.
I'm just.
So,
It's just so. I'm sorry, I can't stop. So it's just so daunting though, because you say it's just that one person at a time, but when you're talking 42 billion.
yeah. Well,
heck do you
yeah. So we
start
have,
there?
I mean, and we've been around, Fight the New Drug has been around for 10 years. And we're just getting started. I'm so excited for the future of where Fight the New Drug is going because more and more people are starting to realize what we are. Again, we are non-religious, non-legislative, and that's a great safe place for a lot of people to go. So I don't care what you believe in religiously. I don't care where you stand politically. This affects everybody, and that's why we go at it that way, because it's just an educational platform to learn the facts. And we're all about facts, science, and personal stories. And it's so empowering for us to see. We hit over 5 million followers on Facebook this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we're growing. Our Instagram is growing. Our Twitter is growing. If people want to get behind the movement, follow us on social media platforms, buy our swag.
And we'll have a bunch of stuff. Lee, we'll put it up on the bottom of the screen.
That'd be great.
How do they get in touch with you?
Well, they can go to the website, email us through the website.
What's the website name?
FightTheNewDrug.org.
FightTheNewDrug.org.
And they can get a hold of us there. They can reach out to us on social. And we're very interactive with our people. We love the interaction with people, and it's so cool to see the stories that come in daily of people that, because of what they've learned through our blogs and through our stories and our science and facts that we put together, where they're finding true connection, they're finding real love, and it's empowering to people to say, I choose love over the exploitation of women, and it's a powerful statement. I love what I get to do.
Well, first of all, great to have you. It's a hell of a story.
You've depressed us entirely.
Well,
no,
good.
No, actually, it was uplifting.
Okay. We've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. For Randall and John, I'm Trip. We'll say next time. Want to thank, by the way, our hosts here, Thorpe and Travis here at the studio. Lee takes care of everything behind the scenes. Bill Francis at Channel 17, starting to run the show now. So we really appreciate you watching. If you've got a great charity, reach out to John at workingforcharities.com and let us know about your charity. We'd love to do a profile. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.